Alright, this is a Yamaha Banshee. I'm fixing to put a clutch in it. Got to take the foot peg off, brake pedal off, this coolant hose off, kickstarter off, then these old school Phillips head screws off. I have lots of extras. I'll go back in with hex head 6mm bolts with a little 8mm head on it. So it's going to be just pop it apart, and I'll make a series of videos and stick them together. It's hard to, I can't hardly video it and do it at the same time. Anyway, I'm taking the kickstarter off right now. Alrighty, I did spray and clean it off to where when I pull this case off, a bunch of dirt and junk doesn't fall into it. I sprayed this with brake spray, wiped it off, then I took my compressed air and blew it off to get that good. Now, taking the kickstarter off, you need to take the bolt all the way out. You need to take it all the way out. Usually they're pretty tight, so you can take a screwdriver, just wedge it in there to spread it out a little bit. And then she'll fall right off. Otherwise, you'll cuss and wrestle with it for a week and a half. If you're going to be doing this later, if you're just thinking about it now, it's a good thing to go ahead and order this seal from Yamaha. Kick shaft seal. Put your new seal in there while you're at it. Especially, see, this one's nice and dry, looking good, but if yours is all grungy looking, put your new seal in there. Now you can see these just come with a clip, like a round E-clip that holds the pedal on. He's got nothing. If I don't have one to fit, I'll put safety wire in there and wind it. But the spring off, and sometimes these two bolts out here, and that'll allow you to work the pedal to get it off. Alright, so the rear master cylinder bolts off. Get it loose. He was missing the clip, and I took the spring here off. It broke. I have a lot of springs. I'll put another spring, a new spring back on it. Alright, I took this cover off just to show you the 3 screws on it. Here's a water pump, the hose, and this is just a vent line. It goes here, up to here. This line I'm tapping on goes to the engine. Right where I'm pointing, it connects to a nipple, just a vent. Vent's there, and then it comes this way, up and over to this. It's just an open air vent line. So, expect to lose coolant. Take this hose off. Take that hose off and get those out, get the screws out. Then the cover will come off. Sometimes you may have to kind of tap it a little bit to get it loose off the gasket. Alright, I'm taking this cover off. You'll have 9 screws. 9 that come out of the case. I'm going to replace them. These are 6mm panhead screws. I'm going to replace them with 6mm hex head with the 8mm head on them. Right there, see that chisel mark? Some of them were tough to get out. So you just take your chisel, put it on the edge of the screw, tap on it. That'll get it loosened up for you. And this is a must-have. You put it in there and turn it. You can turn this either way to lock it right or lock it left, and hammer on it strong. And that normally knocks them all loose, but sometimes maybe your bit's not perfect, or maybe the screws rounded out. It just don't fit good because this is just a really lousy setup with these old panhead screws. This engine come out like in 1972, back when they done them that way, but just take your chisel, get them out of there. I lay them out how they come out, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, right here at the water pump. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There's one up here, so don't let it hide from you. Take a chisel, get them out. Take that, get them out. Then this cover was pretty much glued on there. It looks like it's got Yamaha Banshee on there, which is great stuff, but it's really sticky. So I've got this brass bar. See this tab on the case right here? You go to the other side and tap on it. Not very hard, you'll bust that little tab off. You don't want to use a screwdriver. That's putting too much of the pressure into a fine area. This broadens it out, or like a flat-nosed punch. Tap on it. You got a tab here. You can tap on right here if you need to. And you got one here. This one, you can put a screwdriver and kind of pry on it. But this is where you're going to mess up. If you're going to mess up, you're going to break the case trying to get it off. So just be easy with it. Tap on it there some. Tap on it over here. Get it loose on the dowels. Just work on it. Take your time. Don't get in a big hurry. It's got to come off of this shaft, and the water pump's got to come off. This shaft's got to come out of what drives it. So you just kind of want to work at it, jiggle it, wiggle it, and pull it off pretty much evenly, and it'll come right on off. And here's the vent line right here. I just pulled it loose. You might have to turn your monitor around and your phone up and down some, but here's the vent line. It connects right up here. Just pull it off. It goes into the case here. That way it doesn't restrict. See, it goes in right there. Up under there. So I just got up in there. Take it off so it's not in your way. Alright, so I got the clutch cover off. There's an O-ring right here on this water passage. You can grease it and reuse it, or get you a new one in advance. One dowel. This will fall out on you, so make sure that you got that dowel when you're putting it back together. This hadn't had the oil changed like it should have. You can see it's just black syrup built up in it. See that? I much prefer synthetic oil, but if you have a lot of oil leaks, synthetic is smaller molecules, so it's going to leak worse on you. If you can get away with it, run synthetic. It's way, way, way better oil, and it won't do all this. This is from mineral base oil breaking down, not being changed. All I'm going to do, put it back together with cheap motor oil in it, regular mineral base, Pennzoil, whatever, it doesn't matter at this point. And tell the customer to ride it, drain it, ride it, drain it, drain oil out, put new in it, ride it. Do that and kind of get it flushed out. You can fill it up with solvent and drain it, but that's a big mess. It's easier just to, I'll kind of wipe out, what I can get right here around the edges, and I'll wash this cover up. Then I'll just tell him to ride it and drain it, ride it and drain it until the oil starts getting to where it looks pretty decent. So this is how you adjust the pusher rod that goes across the engine over to the arm that actually operates from the cable. We'll do that when we go back together. That's why it's there, to adjust due to the thickness on your fiber plates, the wear. But right now all you do is bust these 10 millimeters off here. I'll bust them off and show you what I got. Alright, so now you can just reach up in here behind one fiber plate, pull it off. See, there's the push rod adjuster. As you screw that middle screw in, it tightens it up, takes away slack. As you loosen it, it pulls that back. So now all we're going to have is the first plate you're looking at is going to be a fiber plate because it runs on the pressure plate right here. See how this aluminum? So naturally, using your head, you got to have a fiber against that. This old clutch, just peel it out. If you're nervous about it, you can count your fibers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We got 7 fibers, so there'll be 6 steels or 6 metals. Sometimes originally the very back fiber will be thinner, won't be as much material on it. Up and down wise, meaning it'll sit in there like this rather than like that. But if you run into that, don't worry about it. Just put your new fibers in there all the same thickness and party hard. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 fibers. And see, the very back is aluminum where it runs on it. So yeah, you're exactly right. You must start with a fiber. First thing on here is a fiber because it's running against the metal back here, is aluminum. And the last one on is a fiber. And you see these, if you have these kind of metals, just alternate them, like put this one on here, put the next one on here, put the next one on here, put the next one on here, and so on. So I like to do it with new fibers, new metals, new springs. All of it's new. It's all junk this. You can, if you want to, build your stack like this. Measure the thickness with your dial calipers, compare it to your new stack so you can know how badly worn it is. But that's all it is. Now you got to look for knife edging right here. See, on this clutch basket, that has some light to like to medium knife edging. What that is, every time you're sitting at a stop or when you're going, you change gears and you hit the throttle, banging the power to it. What's driving the motorcycle is these fiber plates banging onto that basket. So they're going, every time you hit it. So see, it's knife edging. The edges of those act like a knife. They knife into that. You can take your file, put your rag in here, smooth them up, or you can run them. They're okay unless they start getting kind of pretty deep. They start getting deep and your clutch will start getting notchy, where you let out on your clutch and the bike wants to jump and then stop and jump. It gets notchy. That's because the fibers are trying to hang up in these notches. It's not letting it slam shut smoothly. So ideally, you want those nice and smooth. And that's about it. You just start with your fiber and go back together with it. And I'll do a video when I get it back in there on adjusting the push rod here. If you want to save a buck, you can. I hadn't cleaned these, but you need to clean your old metals, put them together. If you don't have a surface plate, I got one over there, but you can do this. See how those all lay together flat? They're not bent. They're not burn up. I mean, they're reusable. And usually the springs are too, but just to know I got it right and know everything's good and fresh, I like to put new everything in it. Here's the new metals. Now on them, these are stamped out when they make them. One side is sharp. The other edge here is smooth. This edge here is sharp. So we want the smooth edge going towards the engine. That way when you let go of the clutch lever and the pressure plate slams shut, those will glide smoothly and close, and the engine will lock up nicely. So we just alternate them. There's a fiber, here's a metal. This is smooth edge, that's the sharp edge. We want the sharp edge here. Talking about this very edge right here. That's sharp, so we want the sharp pointing outside. And a fiber. That's the sharp we need to go out, and I'm rotating these around. So on and so forth, and I'll show you in a minute after I get it back together how to adjust that push rod. One more thing you need to do when you're putting this pressure plate on, on most bikes it does not matter, but it does on this one, so I'll show you. You could just put it on here and say, okay, that's it. No, that's not it. See how we got slop here? We got slop where my thumb is, that crack. See this arrow? See that dimple where my fingernail's at? Line up that arrow right here with that dimple. Then, there we go, see? We went all the way home, we tightened. There's no gap here, everything's tight. We're pushing it in, it pushed all the way. That's how it's gotta be to work. So make sure when you put the pressure plate on, it goes all the way home against the fibers. Now we got together with these tight. You know, got to get crazy tight with these. Those springs act like a loaded lock washer with pressure on it. Just get these good and tight. They're easy to strip off in there, so you can't just bear down on them. Or you can get out the book and torque them. We got this middle 12 millimeter nut loose. Now we can screw this screw in or out to adjust the push rod length. What happens here, here's the clutch arm. It's got the pointer on it. I cleaned off, see that pointer on the case? You take your finger and push this. It needs to line up. See, I'm a little bit too far towards me. So I need to loosen off a little bit. You can lean over the bike and do it all at the same time. But I'm going to loosen it about 1/4 of a turn. Let's see what we got. All right. That's pretty much on the money. So that's what that is. That's adjusting how long that push rod is. That actually connects this lever, then the rod over to the pressure plate. This your clutch cable pulls on this. That's the cable connection right there. See the cable? So with you holding pressure on it, we're good. So we got it where we want it. And we do the rest of the adjusting up there on the handlebar. So I'll hold this to keep it from turning. I'll put a wrench on there and tighten the lock nut.